Yeah, I just haven't been on Instagram. Yeah. Wow. Good for you.
All right. That's too loud. That's too loud.
Yeah.
That's too loud. Hey, Eric, are you ready to start? I'm talking to you. What do you need? If you want to know? All right. Welcome to the March edition of the Sugar House Community Council. Thank you to everybody who is new here tonight and the usual crowd. Thank you to the Neighborhood Hive for hosting us as usual. Please support. A couple things. So Hearth and Hill down in Sugar House down in what's the white building called, Judy, that burned? Sugar Alley?
Yes.
Opens March 21st. Yeah. Sugar Station, Russ back there went today. It's open from 11 to 3. That's the old Kenny's Chop House.
The old post office.
The old Eric McGill is our new peanut board member, so I'd like to say congrats. 11 to 3 currently. And then it'll be fully open in a month. Yeah.
With a bunch of different restaurants, right?
Yeah. And drinking places. And then our own Kim back here spoke in front of the Senate committee. And that is that. She nailed it. So we want to say thanks for you going to show up. Is Devin here? I have a new trustee, but I don't see him yet. So let's go to is Christy here for the Salt Lake Marathon? Well, we're running an aid station, 21st South and 1700 East. I'll get the times and everything. It's always a great time. So whoever wants to come join us, you're welcome to. Sam, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Sam's testing for sergeant, so.
It hasn't even opened yet, just to be clear. So,
Yes.
don't get too excited that I'll be. Yes, those recommendations are always awesome. Alrighty. So I'm Detective Sam Fallows. For those of you that may not know me, I'm the community liaison detective for Sugar House and a few other areas in the city. And so part of what my job is to do is to report on the crime for the city and then, or for the Sugar House area. And then if anybody has any questions or anything, I can answer those at the end, or anything that I need to follow up on for y'all. So a couple of things to cover before we get into crime stats. It is warming up a little bit, but it's still pretty cold. So just as a reminder, don't leave your vehicles running unattended. We're still getting some of those motor vehicle thefts. But luckily for Sugar House that I'm looking at, those are actually down right now. So that's good. So you guys are doing great. Some of my areas are not. So, yeah, just don't leave your vehicle running. Try to take anything of value out of the vehicle or put it in a place where it's not just easily visible. All those things kind of help to mitigate. A lot of those crimes, especially the property crimes, are crimes of opportunity. So they're not necessarily targeting you. They're just walking around the neighborhood looking for things to break into or looking for any kind of an opportunity. So anything we can do to take away those opportunities will help. So when we dive into the crime stats for the month of February, we was reporting the last full month. Can't believe it's already March this year. That's kind of crazy. But we're looking real good in Sugar House, actually. So Sugar House is unique because we have a lot of shopping here. So if I look at the stats and you just take the numbers, the biggest things we see are like vehicle burglaries and thefts. So, but most of that's because we have a lot of shopping centers in the Sugar House area compared to like other areas. But even with the property crimes that are generally a little bit higher here, the property crime overall year to date is down 11%, which is great. But even more significant is the violent crime. That's what we really are concerned with in the police department is our violent crime. Of course, we don't want property crimes, but first we work with the hard, the most important things. That would be violent crime. Those are down year to date. So again, it's only been 3 months, but year to date, those are down 36%, and the 3-year average is down 41%. That's better than most of the city right now, just so you guys know. So, violent crime is down quite a bit throughout the city, but it's kind of creeped back up at the end of the year. So that's a pretty significant number right now for the 3-year average and for the year to date. So that's awesome.
What do you classify as violent crime?
Yeah, so our violent crimes that we're looking at are criminal homicides, rapes, robbery, business. So like any business that gets robbed, any kind of other robberies, that'd be like a person to person. Aggravated assaults that are family related and aggravated assaults that are non-family. So like this domestic violence related aggravated assaults. And an aggravated assault is basically an assault that could have or did cause serious bodily injury or death. That would be what is considered an aggravated assault. So those are what we look at when we're looking at the violent crimes. Some of those are really hard to prevent, like as a police department. So like domestic violence, that really comes down to like community and family. So if you have a family member that might be experiencing that, there's hotlines. There's the social workers that we have in the police department. We've got our victim advocates that are also very helpful. That you can make referrals and stuff like that. It's a very, obviously, a super sad thing. And it's, I've dealt with it in my own family when I was growing up. My aunt had a lot of domestic violence issues. So it can be really scary to take those steps to get help. But if you know someone, if you're going through it, our victim advocates are really good about finding housing and getting people into safer situations. So those are kind of hard to prevent. But the aggravated assaults, the robberies, those kinds of things, we tend to look for like trends with those. And even like, so we have a very large, and they're not called CompStat anymore. I can't remember what we call them anymore. But basically, they gather all the data and put out like hotspots for us. And they say like, hey, we've had a business burglary here over the last, let's say Sugar House is at it. Like Sugar House at one point was dealing with a lot of business burglaries over in the shopping center. And they put out a bunch of what we call like micro time hotspots, and patrol went out and arrested like one major player, and it pretty much stopped. So that's kind of how we try to do the data-driven stuff with the police department. We try to be a little more smart about it rather than just throwing random resources at random things. So yeah, so that's the numbers. We're looking pretty good. Like I said, we're staying on track. We had 66 total reported crimes for February, which is down. Last year was 93, the same. February. Last year was same month where it was 93. So yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're still way down from the 2020 numbers. 2020 had 291 total crimes, 166 year to date now. So everything's looking fairly good. Hopefully you guys are feeling it.
It's your fault.
My fault, yeah. We're gonna say that. That's not 100% true, but we're gonna take it. So is there any questions or any like kind of, even if it's just a random question, it doesn't have to be about crime.
I want to thank you for taking a look at the behind the Chabad Lubitsch on the west side. I emailed you about that.
Yeah.
But do you know, finally, like I think this week, somebody came and picked up the two shopping carts full of stuff.
Yeah.
Who do we call to get that picked up?
Yeah, so really it's even easier than a call. We have the new app, MySLC. Is that what it's called, MySLC? So there's an app called MySLC. You might have used it already. It can take a second sometimes for them to like get to it, but if you put it on that app, you can just take a picture, or you can even just put a narrative saying, hey, there's a cart. That's the easiest and the most efficient way to do it, because the police department won't really grab the carts. Even if you call us, what we do is just have the people that we contract come out and grab them. So that's the most efficient way to do it, is just on the MySLC. MySLC. Is it mobile or just MySLC?
MySLC.
MySLC, sorry, I should know this. It's downloaded on my phone, I know that. So, I utilize it, I just can't remember what it's called.
I wanted to thank you, and they did get picked up, but I just thought, I want to get to the right place.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and those little things are important too, because if you leave them, then it tends to drive in more problems, right? So if we try to fix the smaller problems, it'll help fix the bigger issues.
Everything going on with the state would like to have oversight over the city. About 3 weeks ago, I'm down around the Sugar House liquor store. There was 3 highway patrol cars and 4 highway patrolmen rousting homeless people. Any idea why highway patrol would be down in Sugar House dealing with that? Because that's a bit ridiculous, in my opinion.
That's the very first time I've heard of that.
Yeah.
They were
I
at the
taken
park.
pictures. No, it was on what is that, 11th East, where the liquor store is.
I wonder if because it's a state liquor store.
It was not on state property, so that was the first thing that went through my head was highway, liquor store.
This is literally the first I've heard of that.
They shut there for a month or so, and I thought it was odd that they were the ones down there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Yes.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing per se. In my mind, I think all the help that we can get from any cooperation with any agency, especially the state, is going to be good. I just hadn't heard of that before, so I'm not really sure like why they're down there per se.
Yeah,
But
I'm just curious.
yeah, you're probably going to see more of it. Truthfully, I don't know. Again, I don't know any like specific plans, but it wouldn't surprise me if you see more cooperation with like Salt Lake City and the state. The state has a lot of state roads throughout our city, like tons. So ones that I didn't even know. So it's I don't know the answer to the question, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of it.
Okay.
But yeah.
I heard that you're now the police are writing like camping tickets again because of kind of like what Derek was saying, the bans that you said public safety plan. So can you address like how a few months ago maybe you were managing petty crime different than you are now since that plan came into place?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily any different than before. Our number one goal is still trying to get people into services. I would say maybe we're just being a little more aggressive with it than we have in the past. We're still offering services, still trying to get people in there. But at this point, it's kind of to a point where we're like, okay, if we've offered someone services multiple times and they're just refusing to do it, then we're going to have to find other avenues with it. We're still going to hold, like Chief Red said, I don't know if you saw his press with the mayor, when he was announced. We want to hold people accountable still, but still be at the same time as compassionate as we can. But at some point, we have to hold people accountable for the crimes that are being committed, right? So when it comes to like the camping one, it's a little more complicated because again, we are trying to find them a place to go rather than get a camping citation. So generally, we will do that. We'll give them multiple opportunities first to try and find a place to go. Especially like during the code, you all know what code blue is. Are you guys familiar with that? Code blue is, if you're not, code blue is essentially like when it's super cold at night, they open up. It's like 200 extra beds, or maybe even more. There's tons that open. So there's really no excuse to be like camping in the street. And the reason we don't want the camping in the street, some people may say, you might look at that and say it's kind of mean to do that, or what's the big deal? But the problem is number one, it's just not sanitary, like health reasons, right? It's just not good for like the neighborhood. It's not good for kids running around. It's not always inherent, but with homelessness, sometimes can come like drug use. We know that some people have drug addictions, things like this. So we have needles, we have all these issues. So we're doing our best to try and like mitigate those kinds of issues, like in the park, in the streets. And I, certainly I don't think nobody here wants someone camped out in the park strip in front of their house, right? Like regardless of whether we want to be compassionate or not, I still think that's acceptable personally. Like I still think that's an acceptable thing. So I don't necessarily know that there's a difference other than just maybe we're being a little more aggressive in the sense that we're giving them an opportunity still to get housing, but if they're not going to take it, then they're going to be held accountable more, I guess. Maybe the best way I can put it. There was one other question I saw.
I've got one.
Sure.
If I may approach. This is going to be sort of a neighborhood activism version of ambush journalism. For people that never met me, don't know me, my name is Milton Brazelton. I live at 2298 Green Street. It's a 1-block section of Green Street. It's a quarter block away from the 7th East exit on the S line. I'm getting close to 4 years of not operating a moving vehicle. Every day, if for some other reason I have somewhere else to go, I either ride S line or walk Harley's Trail into beautiful downtown Sugar House. What I'm going to show you, and if you think it's important, please take it back to the station. When I've been walking the Parley's Trail, I've never seen. Big admission, in my youth, I did my share of illegal drugs. If I went to NA, Narcotics Anonymous meeting today, God, what is it? Oh, I would say, my name is Milton B. I've been clean for 33 years. I've never seen this. I never saw this before. Turning a 16-ounce aluminum can into a bomb. And usually they use crumpled aluminum, which I usually just crush up, put in aluminum cans because it's an additional revenue stream to supplement my pension. But anyway, here it is. If you would take it. I had a quick question. Does our police department have a crime lab?
Crime lab.
No, a lab.
So everyone in the state utilizes the state crime lab. So we have people that process crimes. Is that what you're asking? Like crime scene?
Well, how about a crime lab that has to do the chemical examination of evidence?
Yeah. So the state has this.
Oh, so everybody goes to the state.
Yeah. My understanding is everybody in the state uses the Utah State crime.
Okay. Yeah, that's answered. Anyway, I've already talked to Derek about this, and he says what I probably see is crack cocaine. I have no idea. It's been
So a
long.
lot of this stuff looks like it's utilized for like heroin use, to be 100% honest.
Yeah, go wash your hands, though, or else you're gonna lose.
What's that?
Go wash your hands.
Yeah, I will. Bingo.
I approach washing hands. Basically,
However,
sometimes.
I have to wonder in our day and age if there's going to be some fentanyl on there too.
It could be, and yeah, fentanyl use is definitely used with tinfoil as well. Like fentanyl is like derivative, right?
Yeah. And I realize a lot of people here live in parts of our neighborhood that are mostly single-family dwellings. But obviously, I mean, my block is little apartment houses and mostly single-family dwellings.
Yeah.
But that corridor,
The S line.
yeah, the S line, Parley's Trail, coming up here into Sugar House, that's in the last month. I even had, before I thought about doing that, there are about 3 other samples that were better than the ones there except for the bomb. But if you would do us a favor, let the patrol policemen through here know about that.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the S line because since you brought it up, the S line is definitely, it's a very unique and frustrating situation sometimes because what happens is part of the land is UTA's, part of the land is Salt Lake City's. And so when you call for service, sometimes you can get a little monkey with dispatch because they'll sit there and be like, I think that's UTA. And then they push over to UTA and UTA is like, it's not ours, like give the Salt Lake, and so that gets frustrating in itself. But the S line is something that gets regularly patrolled by our bike officers. The problem is even if I had a cop down there like 24/7, it's a ginormous line, right? We're not going to stop like this kind of stuff. So this would be considered like what we call paraphernalia, right? Drug paraphernalia, right? What people use to utilize drugs. So this you can find really anywhere in the city, and that's not a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying like it's just the realities of it. The biggest thing we worried about is needles. So if you're seeing needles, things like that, you can call those in. You can put them on the SLC mobile app for the Advantage Services will come out with a biohazard team and clean that stuff up. This stuff as well, any kind of drug paraphernalia, anything that's like considered a biohazard, the city has teams that help that can do that. Now, when you put it on there, you guys remember like there's like one team for Salt Lake City. It's a ginormous city. So they'll get to it, but just but if the more you utilize it, it's kind of like that squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more you utilize the app in an area, the more it's gonna get attention, essentially.
I would just say I have not seen needles along the S line. When I've seen needles, and it's been a year or two, is the alley behind my house because some house on 60s had one of those. What do you call it? Kids that were put in the house because their family owned it, and he had connections, and it became a drug house. People came and dropped and bought drugs and everything.
Yeah.
And me and a bunch of the neighbors that walked the alley saw needles, but that's been a year or two. But I'm
That's
glad
good.
I've seen no needles
That is
on
good.
Parley's Trail. I just see that stuff.
Yeah, and if you guys do on the subject of fentanyl, the big hot item right now are what they call blues. These little blue pills. They look like little blue pills, and they've got an M30 stamped on it. Don't touch them because they are fentanyl. It's not gonna like kill you, but just don't touch it. Call that into like dispatch. That would be like a dispatch if you're finding drugs. We want to have an officer just come out and grab it right away. If it's paraphernalia, it's not a needle, stuff like that. You can put it on the app, and the biohazard team can come out and clean it. So yeah, we've got lots of services. But
So you said the best thing to do, just take a picture of whatever you see there on the ground and then put it on the app.
yeah, if it's like something that's not like super hazardous, like a needle, yeah, for sure. Or even like human waste, things like that. You can take pictures of those if you don't have to, but you
But that
you want to show your friends.
gets the point across.
Walk to it. This is crazy.
It'll get the point across. in the picture.
But yeah, hopefully you don't see too much of that, but you do see it. So,
But don't pick it up.
but yeah, you can take a picture, upload to the app, they'll come and clean it up. So,
Yeah.
I've taken up a lot of time, so I'm gonna let y'all.
You're welcome. Will Coker, here's a trustee with us, one of the smarter ones.
Yes, I will.
Thanks, Landon. That's very kind. Landon wanted me to give an update on HB 267. I know a lot of you are aware of that. We've got a lot of questions. For those of you that might not be aware, that's the bill that ran in the legislature this year, which is going to negatively impact all public employees. Basically rob some of their voice on the job when it comes to safety matters, when it comes to collective bargaining, when it comes to fraud, waste, and abuse. You know, like our frontline workers are the ones that make all these things we talk about in these meetings possible. So I'm happy to announce there's a referendum. We're going to be looking to repeal and overturn that. We're in the very early stages of that. It's going to be about another week before we have the packets to start collecting signatures. But I will be at the next community council meeting with packets if you're interested in signing. There's also a website that you can go to if you'd like more information or you want to share with neighbors, friends, and family. That website is protectutahworkers.com. And it will tell you everything you need to know about the movement. Utah has the toughest referendum laws in the entire country. So it's a heavy lift. We could use all the help possible. We need to collect about 200,000 signatures in a month.
So that's the teachers, the police.
The groups that are affected, police, fire, teachers, all city workers, county workers, librarians, yeah. I mean, your snowplow drivers, all the people that make our community run, they're all impacted by this. And there's actually been a companion bill by Lincoln Fillmore that, tells the cities that they can't even start employee groups to be able to have dialogue with their employees. And it's important that everybody know, no employee asked for this, no employer asked for this. This is a bill driven solely by out-of-state money and a political agenda that's out of touch with our community.
So can I ask you, if you or somebody make a Facebook post and an Instagram post and send it to us, then we can post it and tell our friends to post it so that more and more people keep signing it?
Can do. We have a couple of Facebook pages. We're going to consolidate those. We have a couple of people were energetic and started their own thing, so we're looking to kind of get everything put together in one place, and that's kind of the big push the
We'd
next
be
year.
glad to help.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes.
So you guys have to get 8% of Utah's entire population to sign on this in 15 of the 29 counties that exist.
It's actually Senate districts that we have.
It's Senate districts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that is a lot of ground to cover. And I know that you're based here in Salt Lake City.
Mhm.
I also know that it can be very expensive to pay a firm to help gather those signatures. So my
Yes.
question is twofold. One, do you need money? And if so, where do I give you my $1,000? And number two, how can I help spread the word to my friends who live in Grand County, who live in Iron, Cache, Weber County, so that everyone else in this room can donate your $1,000 and also get signatures for you?
Yeah, so we will start putting out maps and events. We're looking to, I don't know, that we'll have a grocery store sponsor us, like, Prop 2 did, but what I can tell you is we're going to have a list of events, places that we will be. We'll let everybody know about our organizing efforts. That's all available on the website. It will be on our social media as well. You can donate on the website as well. And it's incredibly expensive. It can be anywhere from $2 to $4 million just on the signature gathering alone.
Yes.
It's meant to be prohibitive to the voice of the people. It's a bad process. And then after the signatures are gathered, then you have to go campaign and get it across the finish line on a ballot. So that's incredibly expensive too. So your donation would be very much appreciated.
Hey, were you aware right before close of business day that the lieutenant governor declined that application for the referendum?
Yeah, and it's not really, there's a little interpretation issue with the state code. If you read the state code, it says that you have until 5 days after the session to file your petition for a referendum. Nowhere in the state code does it say that, you can't file before the session ends. But that was their interpretation. We've met with the LG's office. They met with the AG's office. There was a lot going on today, but yeah, we've worked it out with them. And yeah, there's going to be no problems with filing the petition. We were hoping to do it today, but it looks like it will be Monday that it's officially filed. And next week we'll begin in earnest, which is actually okay because they give you a short time frame to get this. So we'd rather make sure they have all their ducks in a row too before we start.
So you have 30 days from Monday?
30 days from the first signature we get, or 40 days in total is the way the law is written. But that 10-day window, the 30 to 40, is basically built for the lieutenant governor's office to be able to get us proofs that we then need to take out the printers, to have the printers print our packets, that kind of thing. That's kind of like a 10-day period for prep is what they can do. But yeah, once you start, 30 days.
Okay.
Yes.
Where can we learn more about the background of the law and details?
So there's a lot of detail on the website, and then of course you can go read the bill, and that's available on the legislature's website. There's been a lot of media coverage about it too. Some of it, I think, more accurate than others. But I would suggest reading the bill, and making your own opinion there, and then checking out our website. The website will kind of explain why this is so important to the public workers that are taking up this fight. Yes?
I think you answered the question earlier, but is this also one of the situations where you're required to publicize it in the newspapers? And do all of that?
So that's after signature gathering. When it goes on the ballot, it would then be required to be publicly noticed.
So, a whole lot of money is needed.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Did I see another hand over here? Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thanks,
I'm gonna introduce our newest trustee. Well, I have to make a motion, but this is Devin. He's been around for a bit. He's gonna represent Grandview.
Yay!
Just gonna talk about himself for a second.
Hello. He's on my land use committee.
My name is Devin Zander. I live over by Highland Park Elementary. I live over by Highland Park Elementary. I recently joined the Land Use and Zoning Committee with the one and only Judy Short. Besides that, I'm just interested in public transportation and bicycle infrastructure in Sugar House, as well as a couple things on the agenda later today. I know everybody's interested in the Sizzler site. We're getting an update on that. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Yay!
Judy, you want to make a motion? Please.
I move approval.
I
Okay.
second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. Tony Kwana. So we have the Boys and Girls Club
Oh,
Director.
So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the new club director of the Sugar House location. And we have an upcoming gala that'll go out in the community thing if you want to help and donate or sponsor a table, even attend. It's a really fun event. We would also love your support tomorrow at the clubhouse about the design of Fairmont Park. We are looking to be a part of Fairmont Park in a certain way. If that means moving our building or whatever, we would love to have your support and your voice.
yay!
Well done. So this is the Sugar House Chamber co-chair. This is Erica Wiggins.
Good evening. We have
a couple of fun things coming up. We're starting a music stroll, which will also include specials at restaurants and even at retail locations. So check that out on shopsugarhouse.org. And while you're there, make sure that you download the Sugar House discount pass that we have available, which has, I think, over 30 businesses on it now. And they offer specials, discounts, and you'll be supporting our community and the businesses that need you right now. So get onto that Sugar House Savings Pass. If you are a business, make sure that you have signed up to be part of that program as well. That is provided for you at no charge. It is just a marketing tool to get people through your doors. So please don't hesitate to get signed up for the Sugar House Savings Pass. And hopefully I'll see all of you out on March 21st and 22nd for the music stroll. It'll be 2 days, and the itinerary will be on shopsugarhouse.org.
All right, Lindsay and Scott, come on up. So this is a little update on Fairmont Park. These guys are in from Denver today. Sally and I met them for lunch.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Hand, and I'm a landscape architect working on the Fairmont Park project.
And I'm Scott Jordan. I'm a principal at Cornhill Civitas. We're Denver-based landscape architecture urban design firm. We design parks and open spaces across North America. And we're here because we're actually working on Fairmont Park. And I'll let Lindsay talk more about it, but we are having a community event tomorrow night. I'd love to have everybody come out. We're here to learn and listen to the community. We believe that the park isn't about us as designers. It's about the community that lives and uses it. And so before we even start designing, we're out here learning as much as we can about the park, the community, what's working, what's not. And I'll turn over to Lindsay to talk a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Scott. I don't think I need to go completely into detail. I think last month, Kira Johnson was here, and we've been working with Kira at Public Lands. So I think you guys got a good overview of the project, but we would love it if you would come out tomorrow. It's at the Forestdale Golf Club from 4 to 7 p.m. We'll have some exercises and opportunities for you guys to share your thoughts and tell us everything you know about the park before we begin designing.
And if we can't be there.
And if you can't be there, we have a QR code here, which brings you to the city's website for the park, and that has a link to the survey. We would love it if you would take the survey, share it with everyone that you know who is invested in Fairmont Park. And I have a few flyers if anyone wants to take one to go.
I followed this code last month, and I just got to the city website. Do I have to I have to search Fairmont and go deeper? I mean, I just didn't know where to go.
Sure. We opened. I mean, I can talk loud too.
We opened the survey last week, maybe last week, Tuesday, Monday, I'm not sure. But if you go to this, yes, it's the city's website, but it should be pretty clear what the survey link is. It's something to the effect of surveymonkey.com/Fairmont Park.
And then I'll just quickly add, we've already had about 85, 90 people take the survey, so we're already getting pretty good feedback. But I will say this process is about a 6 to 8 month process. Tomorrow is our first community event where we're listening. We'll come back in a couple of months and do some design alternatives. And then we'll have another survey where we're asked the community, what do you like about this one? What do you like about that one? Really try to understand what the community wants. And then we'll come back one final time and present a kind of refined design concept for that. And so it's going to be a 6 to 8 month process. We'll hopefully come back in front of you guys and maybe share some of the things that we're sharing with the community when we're in some of our future visits. But we just wanted to come and introduce ourselves, and see us around town, around the community at the park. Come say hello and let us know your thoughts, because we really do care. I want to know what you guys think your park needs.
Are there things that are required in the bond that have to be done with the money, or is it just a free for all for the design is totally open?
There are absolutely some things that are covered by some of the bond money. There's some lighting and safety security. There's some bond money for the basketball courts. We tend to Boys and Girls Club, we tend to like to understand the park holistically and then figure out how things fit into it budget-wise. So we're going to look at it holistically and ask broader questions, but then dial it in as we get further into the process. We just don't think doing a small piece of the park is the right way to do. We need to create a vision for where it wants to go. And it might be that the vision is a little bit more than what the budget is. It might need to be phased. We're not scared by that. We do a lot of phased projects all across the country, but we'll be realistic with the community throughout the process as we work our way through it.
So sorry to follow up. What's the total budget and then like what's committed to like the basketball? So what percentage is like free for kind of your all these icing?
Yeah, so there's 5 million from the bond for the north end of the, or the corner by Boys and Girls Club. So that's 5. And then there's 1.5 for safety, security, and bathrooms. And then there's the additional funding of the 750,000 that was specific to the basketball court. That was the CIP project.
Hopefully you can hear that.
Good job.
She knows it better than we do, so that's
That's very impressive.
Yeah, we've also heard, I'll just put our piece to it as well, with separate funding from that roughly 6.57 million that was just described. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks for Joyce Bell. Roxy, come on up. We're going to hear from the Vice Chair of Sugar House Park, and then we'll go to this little parcel.
Hi, thank you. So yeah, before we talk about our neighbor, Sizzler, I'm here from Sugar House Park, and yeah, but if you don't, that's fine. Okay, I'll let you know about a couple things. So first thing is this Sunday's daylight savings, and so starting Monday, the park will now stay open until 10 p.m. So if you were waiting for that, it's still kind of dark, but you can now be there till 10. And we kind of go with the daylight savings. So summer hours start with March, and then we'll change that hour back to 9 p.m. in October. We have submitted our pavilion plans for bidding. So it's actually out right now, and we're in the process of selecting a contractor for those. That schedule is to start April 1st. So you're going to start seeing construction, fencing. If you were around last year, equipment, pavilion parts and stuff like that. Our new date for completion is probably middle of July. So you'll get to experience it at the end of July. That's the schedule. Just to show you again, this is the previous pavilion. Because of this existing line there, we have to move the pavilion. This is going to be closed from parking, but you still will be able to access the playground from this parking lot. And Big Field will just be completely closed. You're still going to have access across the bridge of the creek, but just not paved. So temporarily, the whole parking lot's going to be closed on this one. You're going to still be able to use the spoke road going into the park. So for events and everything, people are still going to hold their races. But, if you walk your dog or something and come park here, it's going to be closed. Big Field is going to be open. So again, we're still having, Girls on the Run. All of the events can still occur. That's going to stay open. This is just to remind you the hours are extended. And then if I've tried to reserve a pavilion in December and been like, why can't I see it? It's because they don't open till March. So reservations are open now, and you can reserve for your date between May 1st and September 30th. That won't be Big Field and Parley's for the first half, but if you want a certain pavilion for a wedding, your corporate event, suggest you book it now. If you want to scan the QR code, we actually have a newsletter. So we're posting about the Arboretum, mostly that, because that's a big thing. Pavilions, we'll be posting about capital improvement because we are in the cycle with Salt Lake City for our capital projects for 2026, with hopes for another pavilion. And then the biggest thing is you've heard about the Arboretum at the park. So the events this Saturday, I know it's been raining. It's going to rain till Friday, but Saturday looks sunny. I just expect to get a little muddy. But again, what we're doing is we've selected 35 trees. We're asking volunteers to come help remove the grass. So you make a little circle at the base of the tree. We're going to take out that grass and then make a mulch ring. It helps the tree. It actually is better for the tree to have that. And then biggest thing in the park is mowers. So it actually gives that buffer so that the mower doesn't get so close, doesn't end up damaging the tree. So they're going to be spaced out through the park, but we're going to kind of have a zone so you don't have to walk the whole park. You're going to have a little area, work on 6 or 7 trees, bring 6 or 7 friends. And again, this is with Tree Utah, Salt Lake County. We actually had a grant from Utah Valley University. And we hope that we'll get the money, federal funds. We'll see. Any questions? Yes.
So I'm curious, does this mean you cannot book a pavilion in October?
So the process for booking outside of the summer session is to fill in a special event form. So you can have an event anytime. You would just fill in the form and say, hey, I want it this day, this time, what it's for. And it really is just for staffing, because of course we have a lot of staff in the summer and then the off season less. So we just we do that form so we can have people prepared, or, you need cleaning afterwards, stuff like that. So the special event form's on the website, and that's for anything outside of the summer season. And that's how we still have events there, right? They go through that, you come before the board just to make sure it's all following the rules, and then, we'd let you have your event, so. Okay, I think we're going to the main event, so. Landon?
All right, Susan, come on now. So this is a proposal. So we're not killing the messengers tonight. So this is a proposal for the Sizzler site, right? Behave well. I like it, but here we go.
Why don't you remind her that she used to be a trustee on this council?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's before my time.
All right, thanks everybody. We are excited to be here. I'm Susie Cutterum, and as Judy mentioned, I was a trustee for quite a while on the community council representing the Fairmont neighborhood, and still get Judy's land use and zoning committee updates and try to pitch in and pipe up when I can. So thank you. Better. Ooh, man, you feel like a karaoke singer. Okay. Tonight we are here to talk about a proposed project for the Sizzler site. I'm a planner with FFKR, and presenting tonight, Jackson Ferguson, who's the principal architect in charge of the project, and John Potter, who is the property owner and developer. So we'll go through our presentation. We should have plenty of time for questions. If we run out of time, there's still questions. I have some note cards that I can hand out. You can write down those questions, get them to Judy, and we'll just be coordinating with her moving forward if there's any questions that we can help resolve as we go through the process with the city. So handing it off to Jackson and John.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully I learned how to hold this from Susie. Our main goal here is to share some information about us and about our project. We'll try to keep our presentation as short as we can to really open it up to questions at the end. Our real goal is to get feedback, comments, and questions and concerns. But before we get started on the hotel, I'll waste 30 seconds of your time to talk about me a little bit, if that's all right. So I'm a transplant to Utah, but this Halloween, October 31st, is my 20th anniversary here in Utah. When you move on Halloween, it's very memorable what day you moved. And the first place I ended up staying, actually, interesting enough and coincidentally, was the extended stay hotel here in Sugar House. So I'm hopeful to come full circle and add a nicer product to the market. If we're successful at this, as Susie mentioned, I'm the developer, and we will be the management company as well of the hotel after opening. Again, as I mentioned, we're local to the area, and as such, I'm excited to hopefully help bring a great product, services, and a number of amenities that we'll discuss in a minute to the neighborhood. Besides living in a hotel here for a little bit, I met my wife she owned a house in Sugar House a few blocks from here, and I did steal her away, admittedly, when we got married. But excited to try to build onto the community, and that's been sort of our goal with some of these layouts that we'll walk you through, and again, welcome your feedback at the end. If we've accomplished what we hope we can have, though, it should be a good service to our guests, of course. It is a hotel, but we tried to pay attention to the thing locals use, and obviously we know that as all of us who live here, we probably don't rent a lot of hotel rooms, but we might use some of the other features we've added to the hotel. And besides being the community amenities we'll focus on, we hope it's sort of a nice informal gateway to the park, really. So yeah, we'll start diving in. And Jackson, do you want to lead on some slides, or I can keep going? Jackson's got a little bit of a sickness here too, so we're gonna tag recovering now.
I'm at the tail end of a cough, so hopefully it doesn't hurt, but man, it sounds horrible. So, but first of all, John's vision has been fantastic. I've been super excited to work with him. And when he says he's local, he has many other hotels. I think it's 9 other hotels.
This will be number 8.
This will be number 8. So he's got several hotels in the area. He's not running away. He's here to stay. He's here to really be part of the community and continue to be part of the community, which is awesome. It's exciting. And so, but a lot of what we're doing with the site is, you can see, it's the Sisler used to sit right about here. And we're looking to basically fill the entire site. We really want to use it to its greatest extent possible. We want it to be a nice interface between the city and the park, and to really contribute to both the city and the park. As a user, there's obviously 2 ways to walk in from the city, or coming from the south. We'll be able to come in, do a right turn for visitors coming from the freeway, right turn right into the roundabout. We've got drop off here, where it'll be valet waiting to park your car, or there's self park underneath. So we're all self-contained with parking, so that there shouldn't be any parking in the park. But we encourage park users and patrons to come and use the amenities at the hotel as well. That's been a very important piece, is this connection to the park. We very much wanted that from the start. John has beat that into me several times to make sure we.
I'll give Jackson and FFKR credit for trying to make the best of this, the dual mandate, so to speak. How do we represent the city side and the park side? It's hard to design a building with no back to it. Is sort of a short answer. So,
Thank you. So as patrons come in, you've got entrance to the garage, entrance to restaurant, entrance to the hotel right here, right off the roundabout. 2 lanes in, 3 lanes out. And then once again, it's right out, so we aren't causing problems with traffic. And so it keeps the traffic flow simple, much easier than other uses. And then we've got many amenities that we'll be going through. You can see the list here, and we'll kind of show where those all sit within the building as we go through that here. And just to slide to the next one. So far, so hopefully, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, good. So here we have the kind of a 3-dimensional rendering that we put together. We really wanted the building to kind of fit in with the city. And so we kind of kept it about the same size as the surrounding buildings. Kind of to get that feel. We didn't want to go taller, but we did want to be similar to what was around us. It gave us that opportunity to fit in, but also a chance to view the park. Some of the prime gems you'll see when we get to the 7th floor. We've got a restaurant here on the south where we can view the mountains as well as the pond. And then we've got banquet rooms here on the east end, where we can view all the way from University of Utah down to Mount Olympus. So it makes for some great amenities that can be used by anyone. So as we kind of zoom in, we get a little better look here at how simple drop off. We really want to make a nice feature here at the roundabout. Potential work with artists and others that might be able to create something that really has a local feeling to it. Then here we have the street side. So here at the street side, this is kind of the view from CVS looking towards the park. We really wanted this to be something that works with the streetscape. So we've been working to meet the streetscape requirements of the city, to have 10-foot sidewalks, to have trees every 30 feet on center, to really create that pedestrian walkway. We've got retail spaces here on the main floor, excuse me, which are restaurant capable. So it could be restaurants, they could be other items, but they'll definitely be city centric. Something that really works with Sugar House and works with both patrons as well as residents of the city.
So the bottom floor, you said will be leased out?
Not all of it.
Parts of it?
Parts of it. From about here at the main entry over is retail space.
Okay.
We have a floor plan, that'll show that well.
Yep.
Smaller scale businesses.
Yep. And this is kind of a boring drawing if we need to come around to topography. So we've really been looking at it to get all the details to work correctly. But here on main floor, you can see these retail spaces, which are restaurant capable. But then here at main lobby, we're also looking to have a cafe where anybody can come. So if you're walking your dog and you want to come get a coffee, stop in, it'd be great. Another important element is the sports rental. We really wanted to tie into the park, to be part of the park, and enhance the park. So if you want to come and rent a bike, we have bike rentals. If you want to rent a Frisbee, we've got Frisbees, could be footballs, soccer balls, that kind of activity is what we really want to encourage. And see, you can also see the ramp going down into the underground parking. That helps to just, get that away. We do have one level of self-parking and then a lower level of valet parking. So we've got both. Did I get everything, John?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. As we go to second level, we've got a grand stair coming up from the lobby where we have meeting rooms here on the south end that will fit a slightly larger crowd than what we have here, so that we can split that into two or into one, and then view from the south. We can overlook the ponds, look towards the south, towards the valley. Just makes for a nice meeting room where you can have corporate events, personal events.
Good to emphasize that, right? We looked at the second floor with its convenient walkout access as great for the business, the community event, because it really stays well connected to the lobby, to the outside, right? And you'll see why we label it such when we get to the top floor.
We also on level 2 start with some of the rooms. So we have kind of division here between where we have some of the rooms that are a little more private, but then something where a family can come stay for the night if they want to not stay with the in-laws.
How many rooms will the hotel be?
No, that's a great question. I appreciate that. It's sorry, I should have added that in my intro. A little failure of mine. So right now we're laying out as 141 rooms, a mixture of standard rooms, which means like a king and a double queen, and some junior suites, and then select on the corners. You'll see. Well, actually, you see some up here and here of some larger suites with a prime view. And to talk about the position of the hotel, it's an upscale hotel. And what's called an industry, a soft brand, or more casually called a boutique brand hotel. So it'll be affiliated with a major reservation system. Our current plan right now is Marriott, but with this flair and uniqueness and design of fitting into a community, right? It's not a cookie cutter project like that. Again, I say this with respect to the brand, but not like the Spring Hill that's across the street. Again, a very nice hotel. But we hope to go beyond that. We will go beyond that structured, same in every city look, right, to really capture the neighborhood vibe.
Well, and even to go a little bit into that, the process is involved with getting branding to come in and really work with local flair. We really want this to fit in the community, and Marriott potentially wants it to fit in locally as well. So it's not just a one that you would see anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, no, thanks. And to tie into that, and for anyone who's curious or interested in the hotel industry, which might just include anyone who travels, It's a really neat sector, up and coming growth area in travel, I should say. There's a large and growing amount of travelers that want a local experience, right? I tell people that you can get a 300 square foot box, high up in the city, in any city in this country, right? Where travel's going is people that want an authentic experience delivered correctly, right? So not 1,000 rooms, not just a box, not just a bed. You need to, of course, do a good job providing those things, but something that really captures the feel. When people come to Salt Lake or any other city, more and more of them want a Salt Lake experience. And honestly, from my time spent here and many times run around the road of the park and many years, I think the best way to offer a Salt Lake City experience is in the Sugar House neighborhood and connected to the park. So we're excited to try to share that with others. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. And question, sorry about that.
So to that end, will you be looking for small businesses to fill those retail spaces, local small business, or are you already contracted with someone else?
Oh, great question. We love to find local small businesses. We're not contracted with anyone as we're finding the concept. And you're right, the two retail spaces that were on the first floor would be great. We'd love the great tenants to partner with for that. And even if you could slide over, again, this is all brainstorming at this point. I don't want to represent it's done, but like we have our coffee shop here in Grab and Go, and I don't want to say names because I don't have any agreements with anybody, but even this might be a great partner opportunity for a local coffee experience. We talk about this as an amenity, and obviously hotel guests like coffee, but we really feel that if we do this right, it's the people that meet up to jog in the park, have a coffee afterwards, or a central point, or it really provides them. We want people to enjoy this as a gathering location in the community, and what better way than with a local flavored coffee shop.
What's the size of the two retail spaces?
Oh, that's a great question. I believe it's about 3,200 square feet, somewhere in that's my head. Between the two, yeah, total 3,200, and we've laid them out to be able to be combined, but obviously the thought and tied with the small business is to be able to divide them as well. That makes it easier for a smaller business to approach. Sure, I'm happy to answer two more questions and then.
So you've got the coffee shop there on the main floor. Did I hear you say there'd be a restaurant on the top floor?
Yes, we haven't quite gotten to that. There's a few more floors to go, but spoiler alert, yes, there's a restaurant on top.
Okay, spoil us. Is it going to be a nice restaurant? Some of us were pretty sad to see Kimmy's Oyster Bar and Chop Shop go to Holiday or wherever it is, although it's just as good, just as nice over there. But I'll be having dinner here maybe on a weekly basis if it's a nice restaurant. I'm wondering about the parking a little bit. If you've got 140 rooms and you have a nice restaurant, it seems like you'll need 200 parking places. So how many floors down are you going to dig to accommodate all these cars?
Sure, a lot of great questions. I'm going to throw some quick answers back, and then let's dive into more. That's all right, because you have so many questions. So to your first one, which is a great one, to go with our upscale hotel, we're looking at an upscale restaurant. And as you can maybe get an image from this, we've started to provide the restaurant seating with these great 7th floor opening window vistas into the park and a view of the Wasatch Mountains, which we think go really well with more of an upscale meal, right? We have the same goal as you to really have a nice dining experience, right? We've also paired it with this outdoor terrace, of course, but in Utah weather, you can't rely on the outdoor. Just sort of for somebody who's not staying at the hotel, I'll show you something that we've done. Note, obviously, these 3 elevators go all the way up. And Jackson, could you go down to the lobby floor, please? Try to show you the experience we've tried to create for the non-hotel guest in the restaurant. So here's the drop-off, and we've created this separate restaurant lobby to what Marriott calls a shuttle elevator. So if you're coming here and you're not a guest, you're certainly welcome to come through the lobby, but obviously that's an atypical restaurant experience. And so we've tried to design it so that you can go straight up to the top and have a nice, quite frankly, urban restaurant experience, almost ignoring the existence of the hotel. I'm happy to dive more in, just to keep going though. That's our restaurant, and we're excited for that. We think it's a neat experience that's presented. To your parking question, definitely agreed that parking is a top concern, and from our previous conversations, we certainly know that that's something we have to address. We have 2 levels of underground parking planned for 171 stalls as done. And based on our calculations for the 141 room hotel, we feel very confident in meeting 100% of needs on site for parking. Yes, we're certainly working on it and aware of some problems with that as it's currently done. That being said, we can actually lay out as the law is currently written, we can certainly do the restaurant without a liquor license, and through third-party catering offer liquor available for private events in our banquet space. And we haven't formally gone through this floor yet. We can talk about it in a second, but and I think someone in the back, I feel bad. I think I didn't call on you earlier.
So I might have stayed in a few hotels and had a lifetime platinum status from Marriott.
Well, thank you.
I stayed in a boutique hotel in New York. I stayed in Palo Alto, places like that. They try and do like a local design and make it like the layout of the lobby area. So I guess you planning to do that. That's the first question. And then obviously we have the mountains, winter time, snow, skiing. Are you going to be doing like ski packages where rather than have people come with their cars and bring lots of cars, you do shuttle buses out to ski resorts? Just as an example.
No, great question. Yeah, happy to answer. Let's see, as far as the design side, your first part of your question, yes, great one. As Jackson said earlier, part of our process we haven't quite gotten into yet is a customized interior design and branding program that is designed to capitalize on having that local feel. Right? We really do want guests to feel like they're not just in any city, but to actually feel like they're here, and that's absolutely part of the process. And we've started that architecturally with our integration to both the city and the park and our layout, but yet we'll continue that all the way through the interior design phase, which we're not at that point yet. So your oh yes, yeah, absolutely. We're not currently, everything's preliminary. We're not currently planning any shuttle given the distance, but we do recognize the proximity to I-80 is to offer a great ski every resort type option, given that, if you're in Park City for travel, you're kind of stuck up there. If you're by the canyons, you might be by the canyons, and here certainly has access to everything. And we've definitely anticipated a certain amount of ski traffic, and we'll certainly participate in passes. We've considered in the activity center that we talked about, Jackson mentioned bikes and frisbees. Do we want to offer skiing? That's to be determined. We might just choose to partner with a local provider for ski rentals for visiting guests, but it's definitely part of it. Oh, that's a big question on that one. We have numbers we could throw up, but they're so preliminary now because we're still taking feedback. Well, and that's excellent. And we'd be happy to welcome your guests, and for rooms, and as I said, for anything else, use the activity center as well. That's great.
I have two questions. The first one, because I'm the guy that always asks about electric vehicles. Sure. Are you going to put electric vehicle chargers in the public parking?
Yes, we will. It's I have in all my other hotels. Well, the newer ones, I guess I should say, full disclosure. No, it's obviously an important amenity that we want to offer to our guests. And actually, I believe it's required by Marriott, in fact, that we do it. And by the city, so yes. But even if I had places that it wasn't required, we've done it. It's why say no to that guest.
And the other question is purely aesthetic. The corner that faces the street, would you consider rounding that corner for sight lines and to make it a little bit less brutal on that corner?
We've looked at options like that. Can we show the site plan actually, maybe? There is some. We have wider sidewalks here. So we feel we've got a pretty reasonable sidewalk here, and we're definitely. We'll note the feedback. It is excellent feedback, and in fact, it came up in a previous meeting we had. Sightlines here, and we're certainly cognizant here as well. We think down here is okay, so we are working to soften to keep the visibility good. Here for pedestrian safety is definitely one of our goals, and here for vehicular and pedestrian safety. But as you can see, part of the project.
So one of the fun and interesting thing with any site is finding out what easements are. This one actually has a little 5x5 easement here at the end where the signal light sits. So the signal light is one of the things making us step back like we are already. So we are incorporating the step. So we do have good view.
But the width of the sidewalks?
And then the width of the sidewalks, we're 10 feet on top of it. So we'll have a little bit of landscaping, because we're a little more than 10 feet to the curb from the property line, but it gives us some nice white sidewalks and the safety of the trees between vehicles and pedestrians. It also helps with the view triangle at the corner.
So is the only ingress and egress in the circle,
I'm
or
glad
do you
you
have
asked,
another one
because
on the 21st
I forgot to
side?
mention, right here, we have a drive under right here, and you can exit it on this end. So one of the great things with, well, like John was saying earlier, one of the difficulties is, as a designer, is there's no backside to this building. And so we struggled for a long time to figure out where to put the garbage. And so here at the drive under, we actually have, you can see it on the floor plan here. We've actually hidden the garbage inside this room here. The garbage will wheel out the dumpsters, pick them up, put them back. So that way there's no garbage out front for anybody.
Garbage for the hotel and the tenant spaces. So
Correct.
keep it all separate, private.
So the retail space will have their garbage, and it keeps it hidden from sight, keeps it away from everyone. So it's been kind of an interesting dilemma, something to work through, but part of making it work. We also have the receiving here as well. So it helps keep it moving.
Jackson, we have
Yes.
My question is always about parking. You say you have 170 parking places.
Correct.
I'm assuming guests. What do you anticipate doing if you have a banquet and you've got restaurant personnel and you've got restaurant guests? That overexceeds that amount of parking.
Well, I'll start with the technical and then give it to John. As a quick note, the first floor is self-serve parking, and we've got
First floor of the garage.
First floor of the garage, yes. And we have, the little ticket taking machine here. And then as you go down to the second floor, it's extra tall. And we're going to use what are called stackers, where you can fit one car on top of another. So we'll have double height parking below. So technically, we're almost 3 levels of parking. So that's how we get the numbers as high as we have.
And from a calculation perspective, generally speaking, with a hotel like this, there'd be a 60% for the hotel side for parking. You'd have 60% of the guest rooms for parking spots. In other words, a 100-room hotel would have 60 rooms, right? We applied a slightly higher number just to see a worst-case scenario, 80%, right? And I don't remember the exact calculations offhand, but I think that came up with, say, it's around 130 spots allocated to the hotel, with the remainder for other uses, banquet uses, etc.
Then what do you do about retail and people who have a banquet and
Sure.
employees?
Exactly. Well, that's where the extra spots come in. So we're well over parked for the hotel, leaving spots for employees are included as part of the hotel, but leaving spots for banquet guests who aren't staying at the hotel, tenants, users who aren't staying at the hotel. So in other words, we're probably over parked for the hotel purpose by, let's call it 30% to account for that, because that's certainly an important part of our goal to fully park the site. And if it appeal to the tenants wouldn't be interested if people can't visit it. And obviously our banquet space wouldn't be full if we can't. So it's something we're very cognizant of. It's actually why we, admittedly, I'll be honest with you, why we went to the valet. I wish it was all self-parked. That's just as a user. I always look at this from the guest perspective. I wish it wasn't valet, but by doing the valet, we set option. We could increase the amount of parking spots to address that exact problem that you're talking about.
But if I were causing myself to look at this as a retailer and wanting to use this as a space, maybe you got it's going to be very difficult to let people just come in and shop at people.
It's not as easy certainly as other options. I'd point out though that there are unfortunately restaurants that have struggled in Sugar House due to worse parking situations than we're providing, and I'd say that that's unfortunate, and it proves your point of the importance of parking that I think we've had. So you're right that it's not the ideal situation for the tenant, and that's something we'll work out with them. But it's a big improvement over many other parking options around Sugar House, and it keeps the cars, of course, still off the roads, the subdivisions. There have been times where I haven't gone to the Dodo because I can't park in the parking lot, and all the Blue Boutique signs say "Do not park here." So we're trying to avoid that problem. I guess that's why I speak as a local too, right? And of course, you drive through the neighborhood, and maybe some of you are going to get angry at me for looking to park near you. And all those spots are full too. So no, it's a top concern of ours. And that quite frankly, with the 2 floors, it's a major investment to solve that very problem, which is one of our top concerns.
So when you guys came to the land use and zoning meeting a few months ago, one of the concerns that was brought up was the underground parking and whether or not there's water, canal, all of that kind of stuff. Have you guys followed up with the city to make sure that you can actually dig 2 floors down?
The Park Authority was actually very helpful with that. We've met with them because we are looking to work with the Park Authority and work closely.
Yeah.
We're setting up some mechanisms. We'll work with them quite frequently. But one of the pieces that they help bring us with is the county hydrologist gave us this map of where the dam is, or what they call the dam, with the pond. Because the pond is a big overflow. We don't know. But then this yellow zone, it's kind of a 25-foot buffer that goes past the dam. And so initially we had hoped we could plant a few trees around this side with our attachment to the park, because we want to donate all of this attachment, all of the upgraded landscaping to the park. But we couldn't quite fit trees, so we might be able to do some bushes or something here, but we can't do as much as we'd like. So, but yeah, it's something we've been looking at.
Great, thanks.
Is that because the roots will interfere with the dam?
Right. Yeah, we don't want the roots from
In
the
a,
trees.
yeah, in a better safe than sorry example.
Yep, correct. So we had talked about potentially trees, but then especially right here, it just barely touches.
Is that the entrance to the draw?
The entrance to the draw is right here.
Yeah. It's the Seagull Lily,
Yep.
yeah, dam. It's
So this kind of pink area is the red seagull lily.
The Seagull Lily.
Yep.
Are you planning on putting any kind of like bike walkers for the people that want to use multi-transit modes?
Bike walkers. We're actually looking at bike storage down in the basement with the parking. But we do also have bike parking right out front, especially where we have the retail or the rental.
From our bike rental, and this is obviously representatively shown, but we plan to rent bikes as well as be able to accommodate locals, employees, or anyone else who chooses to come here. But obviously with the great connection the park has to trails, or the Parley's Trail in particular, like it's a great feature we want to encourage.
And then I assume you've done, well, truck templates for delivery trucks to make it around the roundabout.
Yep.
Will they go right in on 13th and then right out on 21st? Is that the
Correct.
plan?
Yep. Yeah, so this is where working out this receiving area over here at this end, they can come in the roundabout to the receiving and back out.
Extensively is under the pool.
The ramp is under the pool, and then the receiving is just to the side. We have also worked with Salt Lake City Fire to make sure that we have a fire lane where the truck can come in and come out as well.
Is that just an exit on that one end up there?
This is generally an exit, but we could do right. So you could do right in at the drive-under.
You haven't decided yet if you want to be able to pull in and out of there, or?
Architecturally speaking, it's a little more hidden than the main entry, but it could be.
Ideally, it would be right in, and we're obviously weighing because it's you'll notice when we go up to the second floor or third floor how there's rooms above here. We're still exploring the exact dimension of this amount of space, but ideally it would be right in and right out.
We'll do one more and then we'll go.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
Yes, yes.
We want to see the top floor.
Let's do it, let's do it.
I want to know what the park authority told you when you met with them.
Okay, all right. We'll do top floor first, if that's all right.
Sure.
So again, guest rooms, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th look identical. You get to the 7th floor, top floor, and this is what we have. On this side of the building, we have our rooftop restaurant, bar, depending upon where the state of Utah goes, but at the very least, a restaurant and rooftop area. Kitchen serving the entire hotel, including room service. As mentioned, it's an upscale property. We call this the library, a sort of a smaller meeting space. Look at that as like the Christmas party or a small retirement party type of rentable event space. And then of course our banquet space with windows on 3 sides, excellent for weddings or larger events, dancing, we can show it in a banquet style configuration. We've tried to, our layout for this, as I mentioned earlier, is to really take advantage of the great views of both the park and the Wasatch Mountains from all the windows and terrace spaces here. We tried to orient this with the outdoor space on this side of the building too, to sort of if there was any excess noise, it's not pointed at the houses and where everybody lives over there. Yeah, no, we're really excited about how this laid out. And I mentioned earlier the shuttle to the top. Obviously, hotel guests have great access, but from a local perspective, it's very accessible as well.
So 70 feet, is that by right or are you asking for a zoning change?
We're asking to, we haven't officially submitted yet, but to go to the MU8 zoning, which would let us do the seven stories of hotel above ground, plus of course the 2 garage floors.
What's your current by right height?
35.
Yeah, current zoning is 3-story.
So you're looking to double your current.
Correct. We're looking to go with what's called MU8, which hasn't, well, parts of it have been adopted by the city, but it's part of the mixed use upgrade that the city's looking at citywide. It would be similar to the central
District.
district.
Commercial Sugar House is
Commercial
District
Sugar-
1.
Yeah.
Well, you want something similar in height to.
And very similar in height to all the buildings across the street.
What about balconies?
We're not doing balconies. So we're actually looking to have little benches in the room that you can sit at with the windows, so about 20 inches.
We should talk.
Park authority.
Or you.
So as a quick note, we have met with Sugar House Park Authority. We made sure not to put Roxy in the middle of things. She's awesome, but they've been really helpful. They really felt that it seemed to fit well. They were open to the idea of us donating new landscaping and some elements in that area so we can have that strong connection. We're setting up a subcommittee where we can have somebody that we meet with every couple of weeks so that we can work through in an open fashion what we're doing to what we're giving to the park and that works with what they like. So they've been very open to sitting down with us.
They've been very open, and it's early in the process, right? There's a lot of questions to be answered, and we've obviously want to acknowledge that our site plan makes assumptions of approval will be given. And obviously, if things go different way for many reasons, we're still excited. We still think we can produce that great city park interaction. Just maybe have to have a little bit more change in grade on the park side.
So what's next?
When do you go to the city?
So next step is turning in our application for zoning amendment so that we can switch to the CSHB or MUA, depending on where the city council goes. So we're working on that, doing that application and coordinating. And so it kind of goes up from you here, then it goes to planning commission and city council. But they're very interested in listening to what you have to say, and we're very interested in listening to what you have to say.
Where do we provide that feedback to the city?
Well, through the land use committee.
Yeah.
Go on the Sugar House, letter will come to me and then we'll write a letter, so we always put it on our website.
Section.
And
Just
then
put
you
it in
can
there and Judy
submit
gets
comments.
it, and then she gathers all the input and gives it to the city.
So bundle your comments to Judy and the Land Use and Zoning Committee, because part of our application does include demonstrating the benefits to the community as part of the project. And so we've had a lot of great comments here tonight and when we met with the Land Use and Zoning Committee back in November. And that's our goal, is to really demonstrate to the city, the Planning Commission, and the City Council the benefits that this project would bring with that rezone request. So thank you so much, everybody, for all of your time and questions. Let's give it to Jackson for closing. On benefits?
Yeah, you haven't said how many jobs this is going to create. Because that's a
Job creation.
Oh, job creation.
Oh, sure.
No, it's a great question. I mean, we're basically building a medium-sized hotel with a nice restaurant, kitchen, etc. We don't have exact numbers, but I would roughly estimate, I want to call it 70 full-time equivalent positions. That's probably about 250 people, so to speak, which is great of all different sizes. You know, it's got a little bit of a city here, right? With a lot of different little different jobs, from food to maintenance to and the hospitality side as well.
Where do they all park?
Well, as I said, full-time equivalent, so they're not there all the time. The advantage of the hotel business is that our peak, from the room side, is that our peak guest demand for parking is the opposite of most of our hotel staff. Like certainly all the cleaning staff, the day staff, things like that. There's a little bit of overlap we've calculated on the restaurant side. So think of that, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. side, but most of it is sharing the same spaces.
Sorry, my last question is, Maverick's the current owner of the lot, and you have communicated with them, and that's, you're not already leasing the land, correct? They still own it?
Exactly. The land is owned by a local group still, and Maverick, when they bought Come and Go, assumed the lease, and they're still the tenant. We have from Maverick the right to assume that lease around certain parameters that were negotiated. We get to choose, which gives us time to explore this project. Well, and it's still a lease, yeah. If that's what people are curious, it would still be a lease, but yes, for there's 98 years remaining based on our agreement. So that's, as I tell people, like it's not even my kids' problem. I don't even know that'd be my grandkids' problem. I don't know.
Thank you very much. I would do that. So please send me back to himself. We really want to be part of it.
We have a Girl Scout who's selling Girl Scout cookies. It's actually Lee's Hazel's here, so please support.
Yes.
And here's a quick road update.
Hi, quick road update for Hazel. Gives you the good stuff. I'm Leah Jaramillo at the Salt Lake City Public Engagement for Sugar House Projects. We have completed water line work under 21st South and are in the final phase of sewer work. If you drive by Chipotle and that area, you'll see they're deep down in the ground in trenches doing that final sewer work. So we're at the plaza and on the north side as well. That work is expected to wrap up at the end of March or early April. And then they will start to tackle the really terrible pavement conditions that are out there. So I know if you drive it, I drive it in my SUV and it's like off-roading. We all know there are no hot asphalt plants open right now. So we really can't do anything about it, and we will be moving to fix it very quickly. So curb gutter and then roadway reconstruction.
I just have a quick point and request. I live on 13th East. I went through 5 years of construction and 8 tires. In the last 2 months, I've got through 3 tires on 21st South. Burke Brothers knows me real well. Is there not a way for the city or construction to maintain a little bit much more of the construction debris? It's the bolts, it's the craft. I mean, we're all running over it.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, really, it's ridiculous.
We can absolutely make that request to sleep that they are compliant within their stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is preventing debris from getting into the gutters, which is that road debris.
As much as we try to
Yes.
avoid it, you cannot.
You're right. Yep, I'm happy to.
And then people that, we have signs, no left-hand turn, they're turning it, they back up the traffic. So it's truly a mess.
That's why we have to build things like medians and speed bumps and curb bulb outs, right? Is that we can sign it, and there's lots of traffic laws and rules, but if people don't obey them, then sometimes we have to implement physical parameters to prevent them. So you're right. We do see a lot of no left turning. And that's kind of more of a driver behavior issue than an engineering construction issue. But you're right, we're aware. So I hope everybody in the room is also aware and can be compliant with those signs for us. Go ahead.
Leah, can you tell us about McClelland, and because it's like currently closed on the south side?
They are working on the south side of McClelland, on the south side of 21st South. That is a big sewer vault. So it's a big vault underground where all the pipes tie in and do what they need to do to get into the other systems. So that should be a couple of weeks.
So, do you know what happened with Senate Bill 195 today? Because I understand they reneged on.
Sarah's going to talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Wild.
Let's talk about Girl Scout cookies.
Hi, my name is Hazel, and I'm selling Girl Scout cookies with Troop 242, so we can do fun activities and community service projects. I have some cookies for sale at the front door, and you can buy them online. Thank you.
Okay, we gotta hustle through this. This Sarah has a lot to say. Chloe, where?
Oh, unfortunately, she's right here.
Oh, there we go. You can never say no when she comes to us. So she's a graduate student at the U in City and yeah. So she's here to talk about a project she has put together.
Yeah.
So this has been talked about a few times tonight already, but
Again, my name is Chloe Bauer. I am a master's student at the University of Utah, and tonight I'm going to be talking with you guys about the infamous Sugar House or Sugar Mont tennis courts. I am here tonight as a student doing a student activity. I moved to Utah and Sugar House about 1.5 years ago. I live off of 21st and 800. I'm here tonight to gain all of your knowledge, insight, anything that you can tell me about this site, because I am new and I have been able to find some, but not everything that I need to do. So I'm here to gain some insight from you all tonight. So the site that we're talking about tonight is located on the southeast corner of 900 East and Sugar Mont Drive, as we all are probably aware. Again, Boys and Girls Club here tonight with your contact information. But it is all a part of the Fairmount Park area. So with this site, there are many complications that I was unaware of when I first started this project. I used to stand at the bus stop staring at it, wondering what is going on with this site and why it is so underutilized. So that is why I'm here tonight to talk to you guys. So with the history, I wanted to go into the history of the site, and I questioned what happened with it. So going back clear to the 1905, we have the Salt Lake Country Club, which privatized all of Fremont Park from 21st to 27. And then they sold this land and moved to Sugar House Park in 1921. Between 1921 and 1925, Simpson Ave was parceled and sold for residential housing. I am lacking some information from here, so we're going to zoom forward to the 90s, where the city closes the tennis courts due to a lack of funding. So in response to that, you as the community responded with a community gardens effort, which ended in the early teens from what I can tell. And now here in 2019, they had another survey that went on, and the city is continuing to we're starting to engage with this site once again. So when I was talking with the city, some of the conditions of the site are actually fairly all right. They're trying to either reutilize or redevelop this site. So one of the things that they wanted to consider was the condition of the actual ground. So the concrete is actually solid of the tennis courts. The tennis courts are perfectly fine. The asphalt around it is all hollowed. And there is a lack of sidewalk connectivity on that north end as well, which causes a lot of connectivity issues. And even though you do have the S line across the way, you can't get from Fairmont Park to the crosswalk that is, I guess, on this side of the picture. But so with the city, there's been the bond that happened for the north end of the beautification, and they're starting that community engagement. One of the things that they've had proposed to them was Free the Game, which I think is a nonprofit. They come into communities and they do temporary parks with street soccer courts. So that's one of the proposals from the city, or that's been proposed to the city as a type of site. But then also the Boys and Girls Club incorporating them, possibly switching them to the corner, and then having that more flow into the park, or keeping them where they are and having some other park parcel or any other land use on that site. So I'm here to ask you some questions, and I would love if we could, I want to do a little activity with you guys, hand you out some pencils and paper if you don't mind, or if you would like, if you could type them out and send them to me, I'll provide an email at the end. But I'm here to ask you, what's missing from this site, or what's missing from this area that this site could provide you guys? So I have a couple prompts prompting questions. So in 5 years, what are we seeing from this site? We are, so let me pass out some papers here. Thank you. Perfect, thank you. I can help you on the side of it. Thank you. As I have some pencils and I have some paper. But sure. So I know that this is not like the easiest way to. But I would love for you guys, once you get a paper and a pen or pencil, if you could just fold your paper in half for me. Either hot dog or hamburger style, whichever one you're feeling. So on the left side of the paper, if we were to keep this as parkland, a designated parkland, what's missing and what should go here? And I've put some items that are, some recreational items that are already in the area. And then on the right side, I want you to think about if we could rezone this space, if that was enough. What would you like to see there? So I have some other items listed as far as like restaurants and grocery stores, but I'll just give you guys a couple minutes. If you just want to write down some answers for me, and then we can kind of share out, or if anyone has some ideas already. And
okay, so back when they were considering putting the S line in, Ralph Becker wanted to turn the golf court, the tennis courts into housing right next to the S line stop. Personally, to me, that makes the most sense. But there was an outcry because we wanted to keep these tennis courts. So
yes.
anyways, that's kind of wanted to keep it as public lands.
Yeah.
That being was determined.
And it is perfectly all right to want to keep it as public parks. I just want to generate ideas here tonight so that when I go into the, I guess I should probably tell you, I am doing my final product is basically to come up with a little site plan and design for this site. I will be presenting and providing all of the information to the city, but it's more of it's a student project and student interest. This is a very interesting site to me, living right near it and seeing it every day. So Molly Robinson and I are doing an independent study here tonight. So if you have some ideas and just want to write them down for me, and I can collect them now or at the end of the night.
Did you say your email's on the last slide?
Yes, and I also have some little handouts with my email as well. But do we have any ideas for what if we want to do as a park?
So, as we probably all are aware, the city is not maintaining nor has the budget to maintain our parks and open spaces. And a big thing that's come up with the city council, the mayor, sorry to speak on your behalf, Sarah, but came up last night with one of the city councilors, is public-private partnerships of our park spaces. And I'll just say, Boys and Girls Club, I was never like involved, even though I grew up in this area, but I know what they do. I mean, some of my siblings played sports there. We couldn't ask for a more like reliable and well-established private partner in that space. So just as you come up with these concepts, just realize that like, you need to maintain that and manage that, but you can't as a city do it without, increasing our taxes. So I think Boys and Girls Club is just a natural fit for that space. And could increase their reach and their influence in the community, and they do incredible work with youth, but also providing some amenities for adults, basketball, soccer, like you mentioned. So that's my feedback, and I think you'll find a big appetite for that in your urban planning as you go forward and whatever you do. Like, it's not just a Salt Lake City problem, but it's kind of all over the how we can maintain open spaces.
Yes.
But not rely just on the government to fund it all.
Yes, so private-public partnerships are a huge thing within urban planning and how we do get funding. And if you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so
I'd like to second his and then go to her.
The Boys and Girls Club would actually really like to move where the tennis courts are. That's our talks with the city. But in building that, we would like to expand and have gyms that are community themed. We would like to have like a police substation in the building, a community pantry if that's a need. So those are things that we've drawn out in our city conversations that we're having. So we also would love that land and would love to like make that corner pretty because we also look at it every day. So we understand. So honestly, like share, please, because we want to move. We want to have a bigger footprint here and serve the youth in the community. And it's not just our building. Like, let's have a police substation. If Fairmont Park is full of the homeless population, let's put, a little substation.
I think maybe too, one of the things we don't have in Sugar House is we don't have a senior center where, and that may go well with the Boys and Girls
They
Clubs
asked
as
us today
well.
if we would be willing, and our CEO said yes.
Okay.
So this is all great, and I'm going to get in contact with you right after this to come talk to you. So it sounds like the Boys and Girls Club is a very high priority for the community, or at least for several that I'm seeing some head nods. But I'm going to wrap it up right here so that we can get our last speaker in. As I said, I have some flyers. Here is my email, and then just to promote again the Fairmont Park community event tomorrow. Please go. I will be there as well, supporting, and would also just love to talk with you guys more one-on-one. I know I have a very short amount of time tonight, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me, and thank you.
I want to stick my oar in the water. I think I've been thinking about this for a while. It's coming up time for the city council, Sarah, to approve the budget for next year. And I'm wondering if we couldn't be more organized and come up with a good list of things, because the city is not spending enough money. They need more people working to maintain the parks. They need to up the budget. They could raise my taxes.
You can't. You're jumping the. Let's go.
All right. I'll keep this relatively quick. Intelligence test for your cell phones. Pick the right QR code. It's not this one. Transportation Committee. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, it's this one. The next meeting is this one on Zoom. There'll be a newsletter going out with an actual link on Zoom. Field trip. If you're a transportation nerd, we will be going out to the Stadler Rail Facility on Friday, March the 14th, probably in the afternoon, time yet to be decided. This is a QR code for a sign-up form. All I need is your name and your email address. Once I've got some numbers, I'll contact Stadler, tell them how many people are likely to go. And that will be in the newsletter as well, which I'll send out probably this weekend. That was it from me.
All right, now we're going to have our mayor's liaison, Hannah, and Councilwoman, when she's done buying cookies.
Okay,
come on over.
Thank you.
Okay.
Close it out. Thanks, Jared. Oh. Here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah from the mayor's office. Just a couple updates for everyone. I know this is old news for all of you at this point, but I am going to plug the new mobile app one more time. Download it and use it. It's already been talked about a lot tonight. Next, as I'm sure a lot of you saw, the mayor has appointed a new chief of police and a new public lands director, who were both approved by city council last night, which is exciting. Chief Red was previously the executive director of the Utah Department of Corrections. And we really like police chiefs with colors as their last name. We're going from Chief Brown to Chief Red. The mayor is really appreciative of Chief Brown and his 33 years of service. He was an excellent person to work with. And the mayor was really just focused on some new leadership and some new approaches in the police department. So grateful for his service and excited to move forward. And then Kim Shelley will be the director of public lands. She was formerly the executive director of the Utah Department of Environmental Quality. So we're excited to poach some great folks from the state to work at the city. Next, a couple of transportation updates. I think you'll touch on this a little bit, but I did want to first talk about 21st South, not the 21st South you're thinking of. It probably isn't a surprise because we've touched on this in a couple of meetings, but the Transportation Division is looking at improvements on 21st South from 15th East up to 23rd East, where it turns into Parley's Way, essentially. Looking at resurfacing and potentially pedestrian improvements and lane reconfigurations. As I'm sure some of you may know, Senate Bill 195, I do that every time, has some language in that bill that would potentially impact a project like that. So that project is now on hold. And of course, as soon as we have a bit more clarity and as the legislature wraps up this Friday, you guys will be the first to know once we figure out a path forward on that. Separate update from transportation. This is just a teeny piece of District 7. The Transportation Division is working on neighborhood byways throughout the city that are just a safer, calmer option for active transportation, whether you're biking or walking, to connect you to different assets from the city. So one that's just a little bit in District 7 is the Westminster to Sunnyside Neighborhood Byway. Essentially thinking if you wanted to get from Westminster University over to Sunnyside Park or maybe even to the University of Utah, this is a path that you could take that the city would maybe recommend if you're on a bike or if you're walking. These are already neighborhood streets that are relatively safe, calm, quiet, somewhere where you would naturally want to walk and bike, but they're looking at some improvements on this pathway specifically just to make sure that it's really designated as a byway. So there would be signage indicating that this is a neighborhood byway. You can use it as long as potentially speed bumps or intersection improvements, things like that. The small section that's in District 7 is directly east of Westminster, taking you up to 14th East. That then goes north on 14th East and crosses over 17th South, and then meanders up through Wasatch Hollow and up through Eelcrest. So really just a small section in Sugar House, but this is the second round of engagement. So a plan has been put together and now we want to hear feedback from the community. So if you live in that area around Westminster University, or if you consider yourself someone who would use this byway, please scan the QR code and look at the plan and submit comments and feedback. This project is not funded. The only part that's funded so far is this engagement piece, which I realize feels a little disjointed. So it's not like construction is going to start on this anytime soon. We're still in that phase where we really want to hear from community members. I've included the contact information for the project manager if you want to email him and submit any specific feedback or ask him questions. Next, some of you may attend the Living Traditions Festival every year. It's a really fun event down on Washington Square, and they are looking for volunteers this year. It's the weekend of May 16th through the 18th. So if you want to volunteer, I've included their website there so that you can go sign up. Next, a really exciting program from our sustainability department. We are looking at connecting residents to resources that will help us improve our indoor air quality. So this would include applying for high efficiency HVAC filters, portable air purifiers, or even an induction cooktop. If you have a gas range in it, those do create poor air quality in our homes. And if you are particularly susceptible to poor air quality, that could have a big impact on you. So those applications are opening soon. For a long time, they were saying by the end of February, and it is now March. So keep an eye on it. It should be in the next couple of weeks. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you to sign up for the Clean Air SLC newsletter, where you'll be the first to know once those applications open up. And priority will be given to households with individuals particularly sensitive to poor air quality, so children, elderly, pregnant women, people with health conditions, etc. Next, one more grant from the city. This is from the Arts Council. This is a support grant specifically for SLC-based arts nonprofits. So I realize the Venn diagram of people in this room and the people who would apply for this grant is maybe kind of small, but I didn't want to skip it. If you own or work for an arts nonprofit, this is a great chance to apply to get help with general operating expenses to expand programming. So if you're interested, you can talk to me, or there's the web page here. Those do require an in-person meeting with a member of the Arts Council to assess your eligibility first. So don't have to worry about an application yet, just schedule one of those meetings. Any questions for me? Great, thanks everyone. shout out to Hannah. We have the best mayor's liaison. We also have the best council liaison who is here. Julie Morey, stand up.
Julie!
Yes, Julie. Team, we would be nothing. I would be nothing without Julie. I just have to say that we are so grateful to have her. Me personally, I was telling Lynn Schwartz a story that they kind of view our community liaisons as more of like a shared resource amongst council members until I met Julie, and I refuse to share. So every time they're like, maybe Julie should work for another district, I'm like, District 7 refuses. So yeah, we're super fortunate. So I'm gonna go through big worst news to best news, which is the smaller news. So let's talk about legislative session and a couple of key issues that we're facing as a city. So the what? No, we must, because this is our like the clock is ticking for us to take action. So I want to quickly talk about one of the bills that has already come up tonight, SB 195, the transportation amendments. So in general, you should note that this bill is run by these legislators every year. And every year it's kind of this like, normally just code changes, technical cleanups that are happening. And then out of nowhere, they threw in this, and by the way, Salt Lake City no longer can do construction projects without them being reviewed by UDOT and approved, and limiting our ability as a city municipality to have control over some basic aspects that are important to our residents, like traffic calming and being able to look at the size of our roads, also the installation of bike lanes. Couple of things to be aware of. Number one, this bill is not being run by Salt Lake representatives. So that should say a lot in terms of, having an individual who does not represent for this area, kind of trying to advance that code. I will note that they are representing a citizen from Salt Lake. And so this is one of the pieces where, like we talked about last time, we need to come together, team, when it comes to our discussion of traffic calming. So where that stands currently is that there was shenanigans today in terms of a couple of kind of switching out of verbiage to be able to have a highway in there to speak to some of the streets, which gives them more ability to kind of apply some of these negative best practices in terms of allowing Salt Lake City to actually control our roads versus it having to go through the process. The good news is we're hopeful because at 5:56 p.m., the House refused the amendments of the Senate, and now they're in conference committee. So basically, House and Senate have to come back together and say, where are we? And so, like I said, we as Salt Lake City, just so you know, are actively communicating with all of our representatives and through all of our partner cities to be able to ask them for their support to be able to pull this legislation back. So Utah League of Cities and Towns is involved. We're trying to make it more of a state thing, even though it's directed at Salt Lake. So that's SB 195. Next on the list. So we have several bills that will be going through in these last couple of days. And you should know the bills that are the most questionable pass in the last 48 hours. Because they suspend the rules, and so you don't have to have it in committee and have the traditional public comment process that you would during the rest of the session. So this is the time to be attentive to what are they passing up there? Because it happens very quickly. They can introduce things on the floor because rules are suspended, and they can move it through both houses. Two of those, actually there's three bills that are specific to call out related to Salt Lake, and they have to do with the downtown core cultural convention, SEG area, and the Fair Park. There's two bills on Fair Park. As a part of that, the reason why this matters in District 7 is because all of those bills are looking to create technical tools and financial requirements of the city that basically takes not just the sales tax from the area, which we've already dedicated, but also the property taxes that are available not just on those properties, but in the surrounding area. Now, you may think, well, that is not near District 7. How does that impact me as a resident? It does, because the city is still required to provide those areas the services and the supports that we would to any area of the city. That is transportation, that is going to be fire services, police services,
you name it, we're still providing it. And yet the revenue source that we would normally use to provide those services is gone. And so when you have to provide services, but you're not drawing tax revenue from those spaces, it is shouldered by the rest of the residents who are sitting in this room. So as the city, we have been actively fighting and negotiating against these spaces, encouraging them to stay out of our business and to really ask for some of these existing areas to use the existing tools and components they have, and then to work with their personal bond and financing to be able to bring it up. Let me ask Simon first question.
Sarah, so this is grossly undemocratic what we're doing. Are there any thresholds, providing fire services, we provide a bucket of water, providing police services, we can sort of give them the phone number. Why don't we just play them at their own game? Why don't we just go back, treat them with the disrespect they deserve, and the contempt they deserve, and let them deal with this mess themselves that they are creating. This is not partnership. This is just, because the dear leader hates the way it does. This is all being pushed down, and generally we're sick and tired of it.
Yeah, so we like to refer to them in public education as unfunded mandates, where you're basically in a space where, because of Utah code, you're required to provide services even though you don't have a revenue source behind it. So there are legal requirements that we have as a municipality in terms of not being like, well, you're on your own, or we wish you the best. I think the other piece is that we've also seen additional threats of legislation that you saw at the very beginning of session, where there were bills being run that would have allowed the state, if we did not meet acceptable thresholds of addressing homelessness in the city, that the Utah Highway Patrol could assume and DPS could assume control over the Salt Lake City Police in terms of what those next steps are. So it's one of those where, yes, like it would certainly be great to say, well, we don't have the money for it, so oh well. But I think you also have to recognize that that also puts us at greater risk in terms of losing more of our autonomy when it comes to some of the overreach. I'm going to talk about one last bill, and then we'll get to the local pieces, and the news does get better. So the one last bill that I need to highlight is SB 337. So this one has been in the news a little more recently, but it's kind of overshadowed by some other things that are happening up there. But this is a big deal, not just here in District 7 and in Salt Lake City, but across the entire state. It creates the Beehive Authority, which sounds happy, but it is not, team. Because basically what it does is it creates a super land authority. So think about like a super planning commission at the state level that allows them to be able to provide and override any local municipality zoning to be able to install whatever they want. So I'll give you a very tangible District 7 example. It would be possible to not bring a land use request before City Council for the Wells Fargo building on the corner, and you could take it to the state. So as we've seen, the state hasn't been super representative of what we would expect as Salt Lake City residents, and so that should cause serious concern. Because whenever you move things from the local level to the state level, you also change the ability to have access to usually people with more influence, AKA more money. So if you have enough money, you have a different pathway you can pursue than the normal processes and the zoning that we put in place here. This one's been really tricky because there's been a lot of heavy hitters involved. And in that space, it's been challenging to help some of our fellow city municipalities and mayors understand that, yes, Salt Lake City's probably target number 1, but that their target's number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we've been working really hard with our team, with our legislative leadership, as well as the other council members to reach out to all the other municipalities to help them understand the risks involved in terms of what this is. And what it says next. We did get some amendment language considered that the city could give consent. Team, that is nothing, okay? Because it doesn't say anything about what happens if we don't consent. So that is not security in any way, shape, or form. So those are the bills we're keeping an eye on. I will tell you that our representation, again, in the greater Salt Lake area is doing an amazing job of being able to speak against these items when they come up. But it is helpful that if you have connections, especially outside of Salt Lake City, and can encourage those individuals to reach out and say, hey, this isn't a good bill for anyone, because that is true. We appreciate it, and it's helpful to get the word out beyond just our representation here in the district. So, state legislature aside, let's talk about city council for a couple of things, and then I'll come to question. So, as far as city council goes, we do have several proposals moving forward related to zoning. So RMF 3545 is currently being discussed. We in District 7 don't have a lot of RMF 3545. However, it is an important issue, and I'm glad we have Adrian sitting in the front row, because as we're discussing what's happening with RMF 3545, which is more so in kind of like the central towards the avenues, like downtown, up in the University Park area. One of the things that has come up and has been raised by some of those residents is for our historic buildings, when you're losing setback requirements, you could be allowing other buildings to build really close to historical buildings that have more sandstone-based foundations, and that creates risk related to those existing buildings. When you start to approve things like that elsewhere in the city, it does set a precedent for additional conversation. So I have already heard from some amazing members of District 7 with concerns related to that, but it is something that you'll have an opportunity to participate in regards to public comment before City Council. And as always, you can go to Judy, share your information. She is awesome about getting it to me so that I can use it with the conversations with other council members. We also have mixed use zoning. A lot of people thought it would be before council by now. I was explaining to another individual the reason it's not is because we all asked for a lot of changes the last time it came forward. And some of the additional council members were like, I have even more changes. I'm going to need a separate meeting. Most of the council members have been really actively involved in legislative session, trying to advocate for needs of the city. So those meetings haven't happened yet. We won't see the MU consolidation come back to a work session until they have. I would guess that would be early April. So that'll be another opportunity for public comment related to how mixed use really changes specifically the business district here in Sugar House. That's going to be the key area of impact and what the residents' thoughts are so that we can communicate about that. Last but not least, council did pass a legislative intent to look at the R1 zoning, which is kind of the single family. So I always like to explain this. Legislative intent is not an action. It is we would like staff to look at the existing landscape, identify areas of need, and come back with suggestions related to that. This is another one that's going to be, once we see proposals, really important. I think about Simon and Becky. This is one of the first things we talked about when I got here, because Black Lots is on the list of things that they're going to look at. And I think it's important that, like I said, we have some unique neighborhoods that we want to make sure we're representing. So that is a future-facing proposal. We won't be gathering comments on that now until we see what's being identified as a potential need. But just keep that on your radar, that is coming in probably like 6 to 8 months down the road. Two of the smallest pieces that I like to highlight. So we already saw that we have our new police chief, Brian Redd. I will say that I actually knew both him as well as Kim Shelley from their work at the state level. Brian Redd worked with me and others related to some of the restorative justice efforts that we did to eliminate sending our not youngest students, but our oldest students into the prison pathway, and instead finding solutions that keep them in schools. And so that's very positive to me and gives me a lot of hope for the type of compassion that he approaches the work with. Second of all, Kim Shelley, Department of Environmental Quality, she represents for us in terms of the fact that she's not looking at public parks just from like the resource and infrastructure, but also the environmental side, which brings me to our last nominee. So everyone, I know it was mentioned by Landon at the beginning, but it's how I choose to end. I am so excited that we have Eric McGill, who is here tonight and is also our newest representative on the Peanut Board. So as Eric, many of you know, he's been on our post committee. We're super grateful for his advocacy. The story I shared at council when he got up for his nomination was when we were talking about Fairmont and some of the safety issues there and discussing the need to put in additional lights and things like that. It was Eric who very smartly said, but Sarah, what about the migratory birds? And we are very fortunate to have his lens of both ecosystem and stewardship of those resources representing for our district in the new land use space. So I just wanted to give another shout out to Eric. That is uncompensated work that he is doing for us for free. Woo! I will stick around because I'm sure there are questions about legislative session, but we are nearing end of time and I cannot stand here any longer knowing that our amazing Principal Chatterton has an announcement.
Yeah, you guys want to see Highlands plans real quick? I know we're running over.
Oh.
But Eric, Lori, come on up real quick. We'll set it up by Jeremy's, and it's gonna take him a while to stand up. He's hurting.
So you all know the art walk is the, oh, I took pictures of the screen, so I have to go back. Art walk, March 14th from 5 to 8 p.m. Come and support local. It's another great way to support local business. If you don't know, the premise of the art walk is to put art in local businesses. So thank you for coming. There is a National Ceramic Convention in Salt Lake for the first time ever.
Wow.
And Iron Desert Arts, who typically participates in the art walk, is participating, and their reception is Thursday, March 27th from, it's in the evening, 6 to 8 p.m. I think. If you don't know where they are, they're down that little alleyway, close to where Best Friends is. And also Salt Lake City Pottery is participating in Visual Art Institute. It's just a great time to go around the city that whole week and support your local ceramic artists and guests also. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Hey, Derek, put 3 in your anniversary, right? Where's Jen?
Yes.
Jen, yell it out. You're from the East Coast.
April 12th, we're celebrating 3 years of business. That's your first small business.
All right.
To celebrate, we'll have a market during the day. April 12th is a Saturday, and then we invite you all to come and celebrate with us. Black Tie Gala event at night. Free registration on the neighborhoodhive.org. We would love everybody to come and celebrate with us. April 12th.
I know you. All right, Jerry. Come on. You should have been doing this 2 hours ago. So this is our Highland High principal.
He doesn't teach
And
tech
trustee.
classes.
No. He just puts out fires all day. So I can fill in a little bit. The construction is going to start next spring, it sounds like. And it's going to be great. My kids are going to miss it, but that's okay. Thanks for staying late.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being patient. Yeah, Landon, if you just scroll up that first picture. I don't have great renderings at this point, but I can give you a general idea of where the building location is going to be in terms of the current layout of the property of Highland High School. So this light gray that you see is the current building of Highland High School. This dark color is where the new building will be. The back of the building along 2100 South there, coming around 1700 East. Additional parking with a parking garage underneath this field here.
Wow.
So we're hoping to have upwards of over 350 parking spots available for students and faculty. 6 tennis courts. Right now we only have 4. This is a new athletic field house, basically a 20,000 square foot turf facility that our students could be able to use year round to practice outdoor activities. There'll also be restrooms, a press box, and coaches' offices there for the stadium that you can kind of see along the top there. So the stadium and the baseball, softball fields will remain as is. This is going to be another turf field that we're putting in here for primarily soccer and lacrosse. And then again, the main building. So parking here, what we're excited about is a separate bus lane with bus drop-off, a whole new parent drop-off. If you've been anywhere near Highland Hive at the beginning of the day, it's a hot mess.
Yeah.
So fortunately, students will not need to walk through the whole parking lot to get to school. So we're excited about that. Right here will be your main entryway, auditorium, gym space up above, main classroom space kind of behind here. Just to give you a timeline on what they're looking at, for the conversations we've had so far, just stay there. All of this can primarily be built, which is the main classroom space and auditorium space. This can all be built with the current building in place. So that is the intention right now, is all of that being built while the building is in place. Once that's finished, moving everyone to that building, coming back and tearing down this building, and then finishing this common space where you can see that building 6 and 2 down. So that's what we're looking at. Again, they're hoping.
What's the time?
Time frame for this, we're hoping to be breaking ground a year from this. A year from about right now, and hoping to be really kind of starting to move into this first section, the first phase of this building, done by 2028, 2029. So 3 to 4 years is what we're looking at right now. So we've hired a general contractor. Hogan Construction will be doing the construction work. And Naylor Wentworth is our architecture firm. Can you click on that other email I sent? No. Derek's figuring out. So we have some exciting news. One of our teachers has just been nominated. She won for the state of Utah the Most Valuable Teacher Award for the NHL. So this is our amazing welding teacher, which Sarah's had the opportunity to meet. You can vote for her. So she is competing against people from every city that has an NHL team currently in the US and Canada. But you can vote for her to win for the whole NHL Most Valuable Teacher Award, which would push her to, she would win a trip to the All-Star game next year and be recognized as one of the most valuable teachers. So we are super excited about that, but she's an amazing teacher. She helps out with our club hockey team a lot. She's the manager of that team. So, but yeah, she's amazing. So she teaches welding. She is our welding teacher. She is our full-time welding teacher, but then she is our welding teacher for not only for Highland, but for the district. And then she also supports our Highland Club hockey team. So yeah, pretty fantastic. Pretty honored to have the winner for the Utah Hockey Club come from Highland High School. All right, thank you. Go Rams.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for coming tonight. Go Rams.
Yeah.
Anybody drive a Dodge and lost their keys?
Oh.
I need to go back to all my information.
Soft. Yeah, I was gonna say, clean, soft, always lovely. Today is exceptional.
How can you get these bucks put in freeze? Well, that was a lot of information.
I always feel like I need to go sit in like a quiet room for an hour. Yeah. Seriously.
That guy, where he's right. He was one meeting.
And here I am.
Yeah.
There you are.
We use
Right.